Welcome back to another ZX Spectrum compilation review, and it's not just any episode, this is our first milestone, as it's the 10th edition of the compilation reviews. I've reviewed 12 compilations so far, due to covering multiple on a couple of episodes, but this is the 10th individual episode. So to mark the occasion, this time we're looking at 10 great games from Gremlin. The collection was released in December 1987 for the low price of $9.99, so just £1 a game. And 9 of the 10 games were originally published in the UK by Gremlin, and 8 of them were coded in-house. The oldest game on the list being Highway Encounter by Vortex Software, and the newest, Crackout from Gremlin. Some other standout titles include Bounder, Footballer of the Year, Monty on the Run, and Jack the Nipper. But let's have a look at the packaging. Okay, so 10 great games, and what you'll see is it's in fairly unique packaging. It's not in a single or double jewel, and it's not in a big cardboard box like standard compilations and games. It's in a very large, very long polystyrene filled box, which is, I'm not sure it's the greatest choice, and you'll see as we look at it. This one looks like it's lost a bit of its vibrancy. I'm sure the colours popped a bit better when it was new, 39 years ago would it be. So 10 great games, as you can see in the large letters at the top. I wouldn't say it's the best designed cover, but it gives you all of the games. It tells you a little bit about each of them, tells you the price, it's got the name of the company that made it. It's got everything you need. So whilst it might not be the most eye-catching, I think the size certainly is. And if you saw it in the shop and you saw some of the games that are on it and the price of $9.99, I think you'd definitely be interested. I know I would. I certainly wasn't aware of it around the time. But yeah, I certainly would have been spending my birthday money on that if I'd have seen it. We look at the reverse and it's very similar. But what we do find, other than barcode, bit of information about the address of Gremlin, I believe that says, the information on the back of the box is a different screenshot. It's the artwork on the front, screenshots on the back, but the information that's written against each game is also different. On the front, what it says is kind of a backstory, a little bit about the game, about the story of the game. So like West Bank tells you about you working in a bank during the gold rush. But on the back, it tells you a little bit about how to play the game, or the style of game it is, and then more about the mechanics of the game. So that's quite well done. We get the artwork and the backstory, we get the screenshot and about the actual game. So I'm quite impressed with the amount of information, but they've got a lot of real estate to work with. But I am quite impressed by how much information they got on there. You knew what you were buying, that's for sure. But when we open it, you'll see this is where I think it starts to fall down. So we take this big polystyrene bit, so the outer slip cover comes off, and we have this. Okay, so 2 tapes, 5 games on each, I assume. Let's have a check. 5 on that one, 5 on that one, yeah. So 5 games on each. We get a information sheet, a manual. But you may have just seen a little bit of polystyrene drop as I took that out. Taking the tapes out is even worse. To get your fingers in, to get them out without actually damaging the polystyrene. So I am going to try and get to one of them. There we go. So I've got one of them so I can show you the tape. Not exactly exciting. 10 great games, and it tells you that this one is Trailblazer, Highway Encounter, and Monty on the Run on side A, and West Bank, Jack the Nipper on side B. And this one's tape 2, and it tells you it's for Spectrum 48 128. Everything you need, just not exactly exciting. But those little bits of polystyrene that are now on my jumper, they can get in the tape, and it's a really bad idea, surely, to have these kind of things getting inside your tape. Who thought that was a good idea? So yeah, I'm not a fan of that. But then even worse is when you put it back in here, you start cutting up the polystyrene, trying to get it back into the slipcase, because you're scraping along it to put it back on. So I just think it's a really terrible idea to have used polystyrene and a slipcase. If it had been polystyrene but a lid that came on and off, it might have been a bit better, but yeah, that's just not the greatest idea. And plus, what you might notice on this one is it's started to, it's got a bend in it. You can see on here and on here, and that's because it's just too long, and because it's narrower here where there's no middle bit where the manual was, it just bends too easy, so that's going to break. And it's already made the cover look a bit of a mess. So yeah, terrible design choice, but I still would have picked it up in the shop, so I think it's done its marketing job. Then let's have a look at this information sheet. I can't call it a manual because we've got 10 games and we've got that to cover 10 games. You'd often get that for 1 or 2 games. But the font isn't too small. It is readable, but the information given is, it's fairly short on some of the games. But it covers everything. It does. I don't think there's any game where you need detailed instructions. Maybe Avenger could do with a bit more. Let's have a look at how much we've got for Avenger. Yeah, so Avenger is this bit here, and that bit's taken up with the logo. So Avenger is probably the game that I think you need the most, because it's it's an arcade adventure type of game, and that's got a very small amount. So yeah, the amount of information given is reduced down to just the basics of what you need to know, I think, really. So disappointing manual to say there's 10 games and that's all you get. Disappointing polystyrene and slipcase cover, but the design's nice. The fact that you get 10 games is great, and on paper it looks like 10 really good games as well. So let's reserve judgment on the package as a whole, and let's get on with the games. The pack was released just before Christmas in 1987 for $9.99, and it was also released on the Commodore 64, Amstrad, and unusually the MSX. And whilst about 6 or 7 of the games feature across all the releases, a variety of other games make up the rest. And one observation that I found odd is that the game lists are not only different across formats, but also across territories, with the French and German releases both swapping Monty on the Run for Auf Wiedersehen Monty, or Au revoir Monty, as it's called in France, but then they still differ from each other with the rest of the games. This must be down to individual license agreements for these areas, but it does seem a little strange for there to be multiple versions for each system, so somewhere between 8 and 12 variants in total. We will of course be looking at the UK Spectrum release, and as the games are numbered on the box, we'll work through them in that order, starting with Avenger. Released in 1986, Avenger is the follow-up to Way of the Tiger, which was released earlier in the same year. But whilst Tiger was a scrolling beat-em-up, Avenger gives our ninja hero a bigger challenge, as he's transported into a top-down dungeon crawler type arcade adventure. Our unnamed hero must avenge his foster father and retrieve the stolen sacred red scrolls of Ketsuin. To do this, he must defeat the Yeoman Grandmaster of Flame. No, not by busting out his killer breakbeats, but by battling through 6 levels of the Quenchheart Keep Castle to defeat the 3 guardians within. Using your limited shuriken or your fists, you fight and explore the castle, searching for keys to enable you to travel deeper and deeper into its dungeons. You do have the mighty god Quan on your side, who can be called upon to replenish your energy if it gets too low. The graphics on the whole are really nice, with good use of colour, but it's a shame that the Avenger himself is so poorly animated, as that's what you see most. Another issue is with the fiddly controls that make it quite difficult to do simple tasks like getting through a door. But with 300 screens across its 6 levels, there's a great deal of adventuring to be done, and Avenger scores a worthy 7. Despite the serious looking cover art and loading screen, and the very sombre music, Future Night is actually a comic platform adventure. You control Sir Randolph as he attempts to rescue the fair maiden from the clutches of Spegbot the Terrible and his awesome Henchobot. Released at the end of 1986, Future Night is quite a good looking platform adventure with plenty of colour and lots of character. There's quite a large number of items to collect as you make your way through the SS Rust Bucket, but unfortunately the inlay provides no help at all as to what you need to do, so I found myself just wandering around the screens, repeatedly shooting the rapidly regenerating enemies with no real aim or direction. I also found that I often ended up accidentally jumping onto the screen above when getting off a ladder, and although it looks nice, everything's very square and uniform, and it almost feels like it was made by some kind of platform game creator. Enemy block here, ladder block there, item block over there. As a budget game, I think it may have been reasonable, but this was originally a full price release, and there was just nothing to keep my interest, and that all adds up to a game that feels like it doesn't know what it is. The inlay looks as if it's for a completely different game, and the look and feel suggest a fun and polished game, but playing it feels so generic. And all I can give it is 5 points. In case you're unaware, no, Bounder isn't a video game interpretation of the early 80s sitcom starring Peter Bowles and George Cole.
Yes, all right then. That's settled. Goodbye.
On the phone again, Howard?
Oh, don't look like that, Trev. No, it's money well spent. That was the inquiry agent.
What inquiry agent?
The one I've hired to keep watch on our friend Count Ravioli.
You put an inquiry agent onto the Count? If Laura finds out, she'll never forgive you.
No, she won't find out I use your name.
What?
Yes. You've got an appointment with him this afternoon. Oh, and take your checkbook. You'll probably want something in advance. And tell him where he can find the Count this evening.
Well, where's that?
Oh, at the Trattoria. I've just booked us all a table.
I suppose that's under my name, too.
No, you're not going to count the costs on this one, are you, Trev? After all, Laura means a great deal to us, and we don't want to take him to the cleaners by some cheap confidence trickster.
Bounder is actually a ball bouncing simulator. The idea is to move Bounder the tennis ball using only the fancy paving slabs and avoiding the gravel, walls, fences, mesh and anything else. There are also alien enemies to avoid. Well, you didn't think a game about a self-aware tennis ball was set on Earth, did you? But to aid you in your journey, you can also find teleports, jump extenders, score bonuses, and you'll also find some slabs with a question mark, and these may well contain a bonus or power jump, or they could just be a ruse to do you harm. Reaching the goal gives you a bonus level, where you must collect all the question marks within the bounce limit. The packaging tells us that Boundary is one of the most compulsive games you'll ever play, and that it's bound to give you hours of fun. And for once, they're right. Don't get me wrong, it can be infuriating when you reach a point where there's no safe route, and you have to go back and forge a different path. To counter this, the instruction sheet recommends that you use the pause function to enable you to make a map of the 10 levels. But some of them are pretty big, so these days it's probably easier just to go to the tipshop.co.uk and nab one someone else has done. And with no lives left, all that's left for me is to give Bounder 8 points. Footballer of the Year, in its day, was a pretty unique football game. Presented like a TV sports special, complete with a fantastically authentic theme tune, you're initially given the option to change the team names to ensure your favourite club are included, or to change your biggest rivals to a rude variation of their name. Manchester 115s, anyone? We're then asked to enter our name and choose the starting division and the team we want to play for. We've got the Old English Divisions 1 to 4, so Premier to League 2, and also a fifth option, which is a European Super League, but without any English teams. We then pick the nation we want to represent, and we can now start the game proper, as we're presented with the control menu. Here, the 9 icons provide all the info and actions in the game, so let's run through them. The globe gives us the state of affairs, which covers league position, team morale, result stats, and also a tally of your own goals scored. The question mark is an option to buy incident cards. These can be purchased for 200 quid a pop, and you start off with 5 grand in the bank, so let's try one. We got a transfer card, but this club are looking for a higher ability than we have, so that's 200 quid down the Swanee. There are good and bad cards available, such as lottery wins or injuries, so you pays your money and you takes your risk. The injured player is your quit button, so we'll say no to that. The tape and disc simply give you the option to save and load your game. The scroll is for transfer cards. These are a little different to the incident transfer cards, as they simply give you the option to buy your way into a new division. The head gives you your player status rankings for status points, league division and player earnings, as well as an overall player rating. And finally, the boot takes us to the matches. The game action is determined by goal cards, and these are used to create goal mouth action and give you an opportunity to score. You start with 10 cards and use them 1, 2 or 3 cards at a time, depending on the game. You can buy more, but you have low earnings early on, so managing your cash is important. Your main decisions rest on which games to use your goal cards on. You're told the opponent and how many goal cards you must spend if you want to try and influence the game. And here it wants me to spend 3, which gives me 3 chances to shoot. But don't get caught out like I did. You control the ball, not the man. He's the defender. You'll usually play 1, 2 or 3 games, depending on if it's a cup week. And then we get the glorious video printer. You can speed up the printer by holding the spacebar, but I often find myself transfixed and sit there watching the whole thing. Sadly though, that's your lot. You simply rinse and repeat over and again until your money runs out, at which point you sit through the games with no input, while you try and build up enough cash to get more goal cards or take a punt on the incident cards. Had Gremlin added a little more depth and variety, Footballer of the Year could have been great, but as it is, I can only score it 6 out of 10. Released in November 1986, Trailblazer takes the bounder format, removes the bouncing and adds speed. Lots of speed. Trailblazer was a surprising conversion for the Spectrum. The Commodore and Amstrad, and Atari BBC MSX and C16 versions for that matter, all relied on the use of colour to denote the various blocks that our spaceball must blaze a trail down. So how would the 2 colours per character Spectrum handle this? Quite well, as it would happen. Your task is simple, though definitely not easy. Hurtle down the interstellar highway and don't fall down any gaps. Reach the end before the time runs out and you move on to the next of the 14 levels. To aid and hinder you, There are a number of blocks that impact your journey, and each are denoted by their shading. Full shading has no impact, that's a normal paving stone. Diagonally shaded speeds you up, while solid white blocks will make you jump and catapult you forward. Horizontal stripes slow you down massively, and these are a real hindrance. Spotty blocks are the worst, however, as they reverse your controls, and they stay like that until you hit another spotted block. Of course, shading isn't as immediately recognisable as solid colours, so the Speccy is definitely the hardest of the main Trailblazer releases, but it does work extremely well, and the sense of speed has been handled very nicely too. I did find the similarities to Bounder a little too much, including a very similar comedic scrolling message on the menu screen. But putting that aside, and Trailblazer is another inventive hit from Gremlin, and scores 8 points. Highway Encounter is not only the oldest game on the pack, but it's also the only game not to be published by Gremlin, so it may seem like a strange inclusion. But after a few games, I'm so glad they did. Aliens have once again invaded the Earth and are hellbent on mass destruction. Your mission is to halt their advances and ultimately destroy the alien stronghold, Zone 0. Under your control are 5 Vortons and the Lasertron, the world's most advanced weapon system, which must be taken to Zone 0 to finish your mission. Fail and face deadly consequences, as the future of the Earth rests in your hands. When I started this review, Highway Encounter was the game I was least looking forward to. Rotational controls and an isometric viewpoint are 2 of my least favourite things, and the fact I'd never heard of the game were all signs that I was going to hate it. But oh how I was wrong. For starters, the game's beautiful. From the moment the game name builds up on the title screen, like it was being 3D printed, I was enamoured with the stunning graphics and presentation. The use of colour is very tastefully done, with lots of computery green, and the Pepper Pot robots are delightfully charming. The aim of the game is to use your Vortons to push the Lasertron Megabomb up the highway and right into the heart of the alien stronghold. To do this, you need to navigate 30 zones full of obstacles, obstructions, and enemy robots, so planning your journey is a must. Only the lead Vorton has directional control, and your allies will simply plough on forwards until they hit an obstacle, although you can get behind them and push them out of the way if necessary. And this means you can also leave them behind while you clear 3 or 4 screens ahead and ensure the safe passage. Some of the screens are going to require some lateral thinking to work out the best way to progress, especially when there's voltage sparks and enemies blocking your way. The fantastic sense of inertia can initially make controlling the Vortons difficult, but persevere and Highway Encounter is a fantastically rewarding game. I managed to get to the halfway point on my playthrough for this review, but I'll absolutely be revisiting Highway Encounter to see if I can make it all the way to Zone 0 and save the world. So far from being my worst game on the compilation, Highway Encounter is actually my highlight, and it scores a mighty 9 out of 10. Well, that was a delight for the ears. Monty on the Run is the sequel to the 1984 platformer mega hit Wanted Monty Mole. We did get a spin-off in Monty is Innocent, but that was a completely different type of game altogether, and by all accounts was an existing title rebadged to cash in on Monty's success. Here, Monty is on the run from the law after his interventions in the miners' strike, and he must head for the Channel and freedom in Europe. At the start of the game, you're asked to choose 5 items from Monty's Freedom Kit, and choosing badly can leave you unable to complete certain screens. But as usual, I won't be getting that far, so we don't have to worry too much about that. Monty must traverse a variety of strange hideouts and safe houses as he heads for Dover, collecting gold coins as he goes. The gameplay is your traditional platform affair, but with Monty's new somersault, getting around the screens is fun and often exciting. But the whole freedom kit mechanic that's simply there to force replays before you can get further is just a little too devilish for my liking. But Monty on the Run's a great improvement on the first game, and laid brilliant foundations for the excellent final instalment of the trilogy. Auf Wiedersehen, Monty. So despite the awful music and the creator's evil sense of humour, I'm giving Monty on the Run 8 out of 10. West Bank was originally released by Spanish software house Dynamic in their homeland, before receiving a UK release via Gremlin later that same year, and it's an obvious clone of the arcade game Bank Panic. The offices of the West Bank have 12 doors, and it's your job to take the cash deposits from customers entering through each. But as this is the Wild West, you never quite know what might be hiding behind the door. With a variety of harmless locals and bloodthirsty villains, you must keep your wits about you as you move left and right to the various doors, collecting cash or shooting baddies until you have a $sign above each door. But watch out, as the bad guys think nothing of hiding behind a girl's petticoat before jumping out to shoot you. You'll also find Bowie, the diminutive practical joker, who will appear wearing multiple hats. Shoot each of them off his head to reveal what's hiding underneath. If it's cash, then shoot that too for a bonus, but don't shoot the bombs or one of your 3 lives will be lost. In a diversion from the coin-op, upon completing a level, you're treated to a bonus, where you face off in a duel against 3 deadly opponents, but don't shoot until you see each of them reach for their guns. Your secondment to the West Bank only lasts for a weekend, but to see out your job you must last through 9 stages per day. With new bad guys and tougher duels as the levels rise, it'll take a sure shot and nerves of steel to survive. I'm a big fan of Bank Panic in the arcades, and in fact I've got a multi-game cab right next to me and regularly fire it up and try to beat my score. My best so far is not too shabby at just under 500,000 if you want to try and beat me. But my issue with Bank Panic in the arcades is that as soon as you get reasonable at it, games last for a long time, and often I just can't spare 20 to 30 minutes for a single game. So West Bank is absolutely ideal. It has enough variances to not feel like a cut down version, but it's also close enough to give me the proper feels. I'd go as far as to say that it's probably my second favourite game on this collection, and it gets 8 out of 10. Jack was tired of all the wimps in his town and their boring games and goody-goody ways. So being of a rather naughty disposition, he set about livening things up. The first task on his list is to grab his trusty pea shooter from the bedroom. And with that, he can set about his mischievous plan. Jack the Nipper is another 1986 release from Gremlin and was the first sight of a new star of 8-bit gaming. Jack only appeared in 2 games, but he did get his own monthly comic strip in Your Sinclair, and even now he's almost as recognisable as Minor Willie. The aim of the game is to cause enough mayhem that Jack's naughtyometer reaches 100%. There's a variety of ways to achieve this, so the game does have an air of the open world. Firing your pea shooter at NPCs will give you a small increase, and cause the characters to chase you, but it's by completing certain tasks that will really get your naughtyometer needle moving. Things like scaring the cat with a bike horn, blowing up the micros at the local computer shop, and gluing all the teeth together at the dental factory will all help you towards your goal. There are hazards to avoid, however, mainly in the form of the randomly moving NPCs. Should they touch you, you'll start to incur nappy rash. And once the nappy rash is full, you'll lose one of your 5 lives. And the lives are displayed under the naughtyometer by jumping jacks for lives available and jack with a spanked bottom for those lost. With 50 locations and some really nice cartoony graphics, Gremlin have done a great job with the presentation, which helps to differentiate Jack above some of its arcade adventure contemporaries, like the Wally Week games. And even though the game can be completed fairly quickly, it's a lot of fun being a naughty toddler for a while, and Jack the Nipper gets 8 points. And there we go, all 10 games reviewed, and I think you should be able to tell that I really liked 10 great games. But what did the mags think? Issue 4 of Ace said that the compilation was essentially the best of Gremlin, a collection of respectable games that would form a good basis to a software library being started from scratch. Crash said that Gremlin's 10 Great Games gets the award for hope-raising packaging of the month, as the box measures a massive 38 by 20 centimetres and looks tremendous, but holds just a measly 2 cassettes. But at just £1 a game, the package is great value and would fill up a Christmas stocking on its own. It wasn't until a year after its release that C&VG finally got around to covering the release as part of their Compilation City feature. There's no commentary or breakdown, but they did give the compilation an impressive 89%. When listing my scores, we can see a lot of 8s and even a 9, but those scores are dragged down by the 2 6s and the 5 for Future Night, giving an average game score of 7.3. For packaging, when taking into account the large pack and the detailed information on both the front and the back, but also the terrible use of polystyrene, I'm going to score 10 Great Games as 7. With a total of 73 points, from a retail price of £9.99, that gives us a pence per point of 14p, and that scores 9 out of 10. Crunching those numbers tells us that 10 Great Games receives a total score of 75.8%, which gets it a Mega Pack award, but is only good enough for 6th place on our overall chart, which is now limited to the top 12, so we've lost the 13th and bottom title, Trio, from Sparklers. In the publisher's chart, Gremlin jumped straight in at number 3, where we see Ocean slip from the podium despite having 3 of the top 5 compilations. Now, as usual, let's have another listen to this episode's featured music, Martin Galway's excellent rendition of the Beatles' Hard Day's Night from Imagine's arcade conversion Mikey, while we say thanks to the wonderful resources used in making this series. But stick around, as we'll be back in 30 seconds with review number 10 from Cascade's Cassette 50. Cassette 50 review number 10 moves us on to the letter C, and first up is Cargo, which appeared as the first game on side B of the tape. Oh, no instructions, we're straight in, and I don't know what the keys are. Right, no, let's quit that and we'll see if we can find out the keys. Oh, wrong one. Let's list it and hopefully we'll spot some in keys. Not yet. There we go, Z, Q, I and P. Right. Just get to the end of the listing and run it again. Okay, so I'm the blue helicopter. Avoid those missiles. I must land on the ship. Oh, bugger. Let's try that again.
Okay, plenty of time to get over there, not too many missiles, and drop down. Go, 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 go. Your cargo is loading. Where's my helicopter gone? Right, off we go. Oh, there's some weird shape in the sky. It looks like we probably dock with that, do we? It says docking area. Oh yeah, docking complete. Right, now what happens? Same again, with the ship in a different location. So, let's go for another. Not falling for that bomb missile coming just as I'm about to land again. Cargo's loading, up we go, straight for the docking area. There's number 2. So, no different levels, just repeat over and again, just the ship in a different location. So, it's quite fun, you know, I've enjoyed the go I've had of it, but there's not a lot of longevity. And off we go again. Oh, am I going to make it? Run, run, run. Whew, that was close. Okay, docking complete. That's cargo 3 done. Nice and manoeuvrable and fly backwards. More cargo is loading. Don't know why it takes so long to load the cargo, but it doesn't take as long to unload it. Right, that's 4 done. We'll just do one more. And down we go. Ooh. It's fairly nice graphics. You can, you know, the cargo ship and the helicopter are very recognisable as what they are. No idea what the docking area is supposed to be, or, you know, the seabed looks a bit daft, but it's pretty good for a basic game. And where's our 5th done? Oh, and that's it. You've survived and delivered all the goods. So, 5 screens, that's it. So that's it. That's cargo. Short, fairly fun. It's another one of those games where it'd be quite easy to make some refinements and improve the game, make it a bit more playable, a bit of variation, and it could turn into, you know, an okay little typing. As it stands, you'd probably tire of it after 2 or 3 goes, but I'll still give it 3 out of 10. And that's it for the 10th edition of the ZX Spectrum Compilation Chart Challenge. Over the 10 episodes, I've reviewed 64 games over 13 compilations, not including Cassette 50. 3 compilations scored over 80%, 5 got over 70%, and just 1 scored under 60%. 10 packs were full priced and 3 budget, and we've introduced 9 different publishers. And since I relaunched my channel in mid-October, I've amassed a collection of over 160 Spectrum compilations, so there's lots more to come. So thanks for sticking with me, but it's been a hard day's night. I should be sleeping like a log.